Am I live? Oh, that's weird. Did it play the intro? That is so weird. I was trying to hit start and it kept telling me it wasn't starting. Um, hmm. Tell you what, I'm going to play this one more time. Yes, welcome to the most professional show about comic books on the entire internet. Welcome to the weekly Spinner Rack. I'm your host, Chris. You know what I like? When there aren't glitches. But I also have to admit, I love it when you hit like or subscribe. So consider that below. All right, so what is this? A lot of you have been here before, whether it's watching live or on the replay, the video on demand. But if you're new here, welcome. This is a show where we talk about the latest comic book news of the week, as well as review the latest comic books that came out. Sometimes we have interviews. Tonight, it's just going to be me and the live chat. And yeah, I think it's time to do another Fast and Furious chick tract. So I'll draw one of those tonight. All right, let's give some hellos to people. Let's see, scrolling up to see who's here. Hello, Chemdog and Sergio. Hello, Christopher. Pasta Jensen. You guys have some good names here. Hello to all of these wonderful people that watch the show. This is awesome. The Mile High City, that's Denver. I know that. Who else do we have here? Let me scroll down. Hello, Moritaka, Ian, Beowulf. We're going to have a good time tonight. I'll tell you that for nothing. There's no charge to me telling you that we are going to have a heck of a great show, giving people a little time to filter in. Oh, and thank you, Circuitron. Yes, over on Comic Tropes, I have uploaded a new video, and it is about basically my love of the comic All-Stars Superman by Grant Morrison, Frank Whiteley, colorist Jamie Grant. I just think it's a fantastic take on Superman, and I argue my case. But I also ask in that, what people's favorite Superman stories are, and there's some interesting stuff in the replies. So that's really cool. So anyway, if you haven't seen it, would love it if you check that out. Who else is here? I'm pretty proud of picking this one up. I got this when I was in Japan this past January, and it's sort of a one-of-a-kind thing that some artist there, he made one-off shirts, and I was in this sort of high-end clothing boutique, and I had to use my Japanese to ask for it. I was like, is that my size? And it was awesome to get that. It was not cheap, but it's worth it. Nobody else will have this. Hello. Hey, Steve, thank you. I'm in a good mood today. Let's see. Sugar-free Mountain Dew Baja Blast on me. You know what I've got this time, Steve, is this is sugar-free Mountain Dew. Chrissy got me something called Summer Freeze. And boy, I really like it. It's got cherry, lemon, and raspberry. It's artificial, so no sugar. Anyway, all right. We want to keep it going. Oh, hey, look, it's my buddy Dave. Dave did the voiceover at the beginning, little silly sketch that I did in the latest Comic Tropes, by the way. And that seemed to have gone over well. I've got a little credit for him at the back of the episode where I put credits and stuff. Thank you again, Dave. I didn't pick that up. I probably should have. Oh, you know what? I'll just say this too. Dave interviewed Chip Zdarsky on his channel, so that's a pretty good get. I get jealous when I see other YouTube and podcast shows get great guests. I'm like, wow, Stan Sakai and Chip Zdarsky, like Dave's getting some good guests. And then I see like, comic book couples counseling podcasts get like Grant Morrison. And I'm like, oh, I'm jealous. Oh, anyway, tell you what, let's move on to news of the week. And I wouldn't say it's anything with like groundbreaking news, but I think that there are some really fun bits. And I think that that's pretty much just as good. Let's do some news of the week.
We're sitting on top of the story of the century here.
Put an ad on the front page. Cash money for a picture of Spider-Man. He doesn't want to be famous, and I'll make him infamous.
Hi guys, this is April O'Neil from Channel 6 News, and I am here in beautiful New York City.
All right, there's an intro for the ages. Thank you again. Another super chat. Yes, yeah. Well, I really do like it. It says it's summer freeze, so I guess it's only here for a limited time, but I do like it. Yeah, sorry. His interview is on his show Direct Edition, which I believe you do as both a podcast and the YouTube show, right, Dave? You put that out as a podcast as well. So anyway, I did want to mention that because that's a great guest. So let me pull up a document here and we'll get into some fun news of the week. Look at that. Are they back in convenience stores? I'll just let you know right now. It's a little bit of a clickbaity thing. I'll get to it. So we'll start with this. Jim Shooter's complicated past. So last week, Jim Shooter passed away. And it happened like right before, or the news was coming out like really shortly before I did the show. But I took a minute to give some of my thoughts on him. Now we've had a full week to, come to terms with the fact that, we lost a really important figure in comics history. And the word that got used an awful lot was complicated. And I've got a really good example of that came up this week, okay? So first of all, if you're not familiar, Jim Shooter was a comic book writer, a comic book artist, most prominently publisher and editor-in-chief, especially of Marvel Comics in the 80s. So, he passed away, unfortunately, age 73, esophageal cancer. It's sad. But, his Marvel run really turned things around for that company. I talked about that last week. I've got an episode about him if you want a big deep dive in his career on Comic Tropes. Keep in mind, though, this was the guy that was the boss when there were things like Walt Simonson's Thor run, Frank Miller's Daredevil run, John Byrne on Fantastic Four. The list goes on. Some really great runs. He was hitting deadlines. It was really interesting. But he was a complicated person. Okay, so for instance, I'm mentioning here his legacy brings Marvel to the heights I just mentioned. Several artists and writers really bristled at his management style. It was definitely his way, and his way almost always worked, which gave him the confidence to say, no, we're going to do it this way. But that doesn't always make it easy for creative types, So here's an example of what I mean with complicated. One of the people responding to his passing away was writer Andy Mangiels. Okay, he's written comics, he's written reviews, he's an out creator, and he mentioned, hey, Shooter was great, but and this is Andy's words, he was homophobic, and I think that there is some evidence of that. Okay, Andy specifically talked about a pretty infamous issue of Rampaging Hulk, issue 23 from 1980, that Jim Shooter wrote, where Bruce Banner goes into a YMCA and he's basically almost assaulted by some lisping gay guys. It's a really terrible representation in a time when like gay people just were not showing up in Marvel or DC Comics, okay? And then here's the thing, like that is true. And Jim defended it, saying like, hey, that came from like an account a friend of mine told me that happened to him. And his idea behind it, to be clear, wasn't necessarily to demonize anybody. He said, what if Bruce Banner went through something and instead of instantly getting angry and turning into the Hulk, it sort of scared him. And then later, when he dealt with that trauma, he turned into the Hulk at an inopportune time. The idea for the story is good. The reasoning behind it, not a great representation. But here's a second thing I wanted to bring up. Bleeding Cool shared it this week. In 2007, Jim Shooter famously went back to DC Comics to write some Legion of Superheroes. That was what he broke in. He wrote a Legion of Superheroes idea at age 13, was getting paid by DC at age 14 to write Legion of Superhero stories. So it was a big deal for him to come back. And in his pitch document, he had this super progressive idea that really didn't have anything problematic. DC editorial did nix it, but he specifically was going to have a character called Invisible Kid, who by then was pretty much known to be gay. He was going to actually have Invisible Kid become trans. And I was, for 2007, that's a fairly progressive idea. It didn't happen, but that's what I mean by complicated. He did stuff that was like objectionably bad for some people. And then on the other hand, he would do kind things. People say that, like, he spent his own money on the holidays to get people really nice personal gifts. He watched out for their benefits. He made sure that people were getting good royalties and getting their original art back. He really moved mountains to do some of that stuff. But he wasn't a perfect person. He just wasn't. It's so weird. Hey, thank you for this. Went to Massachusetts for the 400th anniversary of Quincy. Got a chance to go to NEC and meet Doreen. She says hello. It was her birthday this past week, too. Doreen, the store manager at the Quincy New England Comics, is the basis for Squirrel Girl, if you folks don't know. Squirrel Girl's real name is Doreen Green, and the writer knew Doreen as a, back then I think she was just a clerk. So, yeah, that's really cool, man. I knew Quincy was way older than the country. I mean, my town that I grew up in, I remember when I was young, had a 350th anniversary celebration. I don't think I knew that Quincy turned 400, though. Nobody is perfect is true. Not to excuse anything. I think that, but it's harder to criticize somebody once they're gone. It's just worth noting. And I'm trying to note it, but also, and I'm not trying to mitigate it. I'm just trying to show that there are both sides. And he was really complex individual. Bob Hall wrote some really nice things about Shooter on his Facebook. They were good friends, and it was nice to read what he had to say. Yeah, that is nice. Larry Hama had some really nice things to say. And he also said, hey, Jim Shooter can be difficult, but here are some amazing things he did, including getting a guy, like a guy who had passed away and wasn't technically approved for like life insurance with Marvel. He had them backdate it so that like his wife got the benefits. And, yeah. Larry says, hey, Chris, by the way, thank you for the super chat. Always appreciated. I just want that to be clear. When are you going to see Superman? I'm going tomorrow. Oh, wow. Wait, it comes out tomorrow some places? And I can't wait. Proud Snyder bro here as well. I need live action Superman in my life. I really hope that James Gunn does a good job. I'm hopeful. I like all of James Gunn's superhero stuff, and I like most of his other stuff too. I thought Slither was fun. I thought what's that early superhero comedy he wrote, and I can't even remember it now. The Specials, that was pretty funny. So anyway, I hope it's good. I don't know when I'm going to see it. As soon as I can, but I don't know. Yeah, I read about Eric Larson posting also how he kept going back. Like Jim Shooter used to send people an actual letter when they submitted artwork, and he'd say close but no cigar, but he'd remember them and he'd say closer but still no cigar. And then he'd finally go like, yeah, I'm ready. Amazon Prime sneak peek. I jumped on it. I didn't get that. I did not get that. Wow. he did not really ever apologize per se. He was very defensive about them, saying that it was not meant to be homophobic and explaining where it was coming from. So he did not see himself as such a person. And yeah, I think he probably didn't always think ahead to the ramifications of his story ideas, if I was being critical of him. I didn't really know about that. Huh. Down in Chile, some special premieres of Superman tomorrow. That's really fun. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I also haven't seen, and it's not as big a priority for me, but I haven't seen the Jurassic World movie. I'm curious to see that one if I've got some time. It's not as important as like Superman or Fantastic Four. But I would like to see it. I just haven't. I really wanted to get my latest All-Star Superman video done for everybody. Jim, yes, I've talked about that, I think, in both of my Jim Shooter episode and my Venom episode, and possibly even in my Mike Zeck episode, explained it. Some things repeat, so yes. Yeah, I've seen them all in the theater too, although I have to admit I didn't really like the Jurassic World movies. The first one was okay. The last two I didn't like at all. There's somebody going on Wednesday. Well, thank you for the super chats. Let me jump back to some more news and see where we're at. All right, some upcoming Marvel stuff that just looks potentially interesting. First of all, Marvel released on the right-hand side here a teaser image for an X-Men event. It's coming in October, and they're calling it Age of Revelation. That seems to me that it would strongly indicate that it would have something to do with Apocalypse's new heir, which is Doug Ramsey, previously known as Cypher. Now he's called Revelation. I would think so. His powers have expanded. He used to just have the power to understand any language. Now he has the power to also push out and influence people with language. It's not mind control, but it's like he's compared it to like how he could hack code because he could read code. Now he can sort of hack people with language. So yeah, it's an interesting idea. Hold on, I gotta acknowledge these. Guys, I cannot thank you enough because this is coming at a good time. I've got some unfortunate bills, and this is really helpful. Thank you. You have no idea how helpful this can be. A casting idea. Timothy Simmons, Jonah from Veep. Yes, I know who you're talking about. As Jim Shooter, they look pretty similar, and Timothy can play abrasive. Plus, he's tall. It'd be neat to get a movie based on the inside goings of DC and Marvel. I love that idea. I think that's a great casting idea. And I think that the Bronze Age of comics would be a fascinating movie. But I also think before we even get there, we really need a Jack Kirby biopic. I mean, the guy grew up in Depression era, sort of slums of New York, went to fight in Europe during World War II, created so many memorable characters, did the designs for Argo, which helped get like a fake CIA-funded movie production crew to smuggle out some hostages in the Middle East. Just a wild story. So many parts that you could talk about. Thank you, Steve. In your All-Star Soups video, Bizarro equals depression. Bizarro's world leaves him trapped in isolation, mirroring depression's confusion and loneliness. Well, I think I agree with you if we're specifically talking about Zabaro, the one Bizarro who actually can think clearly and is therefore the opposite of all the Bizarros. I think you're right that he's lonely and dealing with depression and stuff. I think that's very accurate. The rest of the Bizarros seem fine to exist as they are, but yeah, that's really cool observation. It didn't occur to me, but as soon as you say it, makes all the sense in the world. Not Sabaro, although if I thought of that could have also been a fun opening gag. That could have been fun. He was, yeah. Jack Kirby did. Hey, I've got a bunch of episodes about Jack Kirby, and one of them I go into great detail about how he was a scout, which was a very dangerous job. He got frostbite doing that. That's what removed him from his unit, or really just sent to the hospitals. And the rest of his platoon was killed in France. So if he had not got that job or something, he could have easily been lost to us, and he would have probably just been remembered as the guy that created Captain America, but nothing else. I meant to write Zabaro. Yes. No worries. I got you. Thank you for the $2 extra, but thank you. Kirby at War is a great documentary. I just think it would make for a good biopic. I really do. What else did I have for sort of Marvel news? There was a couple pieces. And next I'll talk about the image on the left. I didn't pick this up, and I kind of regret it now. But the debut of Captain America, a reboot basically, or restarting of the numbering. Chip Zdarsky, Valerio Schiti came out last week, or this past week is what I mean. It introduced a new Captain America, David Colton, a man inspired to join the military after 9/11. And so you see him and Cap in sort of stealth gear. I don't believe he's taken the super soldier serum yet, but now that we've got sort of a bit of a legacy with Captain America's, Falcon has become Captain America. Isaiah Bradley was sort of a middle prototype Captain America. And of course, Marvel retconned the Captain America of the 50s to be another Captain America. I like the idea of a new one being appointed by the military and seeing where that goes. I do like the idea. No kidding? I never knew about that. Yogi Berra was a gunner on a ship on D-Day, World War II vet. Here's my bit of trivia then. Let's see. Scotty from Star Trek was in the Canadian Army during World War II, and he got a finger shot off in friendly fire. So if you ever watch Star Trek closely, Scotty's missing a finger. Yeah, that's my bit of celebrity in World War II trivia. Panels with P, thank you. Visited the Beguiling in Toronto, one of Canada's best shops, and got UFO Mushroom Invasion. You check out any of the Smudge Living the Line manga? I have to admit I haven't. I don't know. I love the title, UFO Mushroom Invasion. Huh. I think I got high just reading that title. That is awesome. That is really cool. Thank you for the super chat. Toronto's an amazing city, by the way. Just humongous. That's an interesting question. Do I have a favorite piece of superhero-related prose literature? I do. The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay by Michael Chabon. Great book. Really good. Really cool look at Golden Age comics, but also just a whole bunch of what it's like being maybe a minority and trying to make it. Really cool stuff. Really, really cool. And finally, with the Marvel bit of news here, I've got this last thing here. In October, Marvel is going to launch Spirits of Violence. That's a fun title. Book by Sabir Pirzada, art by Paul Davidson. It's going to unite all their Ghost Riders. Johnny Blaze, Danny Ketch, Kushala, Helverine, the newest one, Phantasma. Robbie Reyes is back. I like Robbie Reyes. They didn't mention Vengeance, though. I think of him as a Ghost Rider. Anyway, it's going to have them all going up against a new Spirit of Violence, which is Danny's dead sister. She comes back as the Spirit of Violence. They're the spirits of vengeance, but there's a Spirit of Violence. That's a fun idea. Yeah, Barbara. So like that, obviously, they'd want to obviously do everything they can to get her soul right. That's brutal. I don't know about the card game tie-in, but Exquisite Corpses has been fantastic. Moving on, I've got more news. I'm going to keep things moving. Wanted to just give credit to this actor, Julian McMahon. He passed away. He was only 56. I don't think of that as old personally, but he passed away from cancer. You probably know him though. Like if you're watching this, he played 2 different Marvel roles. To be clear, he played Doctor Doom in 2 of the theatrical Fantastic Four movies. And he played the villainous Jonah on the show Runaways in seasons 1 and 2, which had 3 seasons. Runaways did. And he did a bunch of other stuff, of course. You know, he's pretty famous for like Nip Tuck. I think he was on that show Charmed. It's just that he had 2 Marvel roles. And so a couple of his Fantastic Four co-stars posted tributes to him on social media. For instance, Ioan Gruffudd said, "Every encounter with him was a joy. It was an honor to be Dr. Richards to his Dr. Doom. My heart goes out to his wife and family. Godspeed, Julian." And then Michael Chiklis, who played the Thing in those movies, said, "I'm devastated to hear of the passing of my friend Julian. Life is so precious and fragile. My condolences to his family. R.I.P. Jules." I didn't see that show. Was it any good? He was in Profiler? I get, it was interesting reading up on him. I wasn't super familiar with him, but I decided to just, read at least his Wikipedia bio. I knew he was Australian and American, but I didn't realize that like his father was someone like important in Australia in their government. So and then his mother, I think, was like a model or something. So anyway, yeah. We'll keep going, though. I don't want to dwell on it. I just wanted to... yes, apparently he got good reviews for being in the latest Nicolas Cage movie, The Surfer. So that's nice. Prime Minister, thank you. Thank you. The heck? All right. Thunderbolts comes home. Let me talk about Thunderbolts just a little bit. So it landed on video on demand this past week, July 1st, so you can pay for it. The film's also going to get 4K. What's UHD stand for again? Ultra high def, Blu-ray, DVD, all on July 29th, so the end of this month. No release date for Disney Plus yet, but typically they just make sure that, people can like get it through these various purchasable ways. They don't want to just give it away for nothing. And then it'll come to Disney Plus probably late August, early September. The movie got 88% positive reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. That's really high for a superhero movie, just to be clear. I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. Its box office was only $382 million. I love that these days we say only, on a $180 million budget. You have to figure they spent at least $100 million also in advertising, maybe a little bit more. Did it turn a profit? Yeah, it probably did. And it'll probably turn more of one with all these like video on demand and Blu-rays and such. But it's definitely not what Marvel used to be able to do with, even a second tier character. Like even the first Ant-Man made a bigger profit, But I also want to point out, that's far from a bomb. You know what I mean? It's not like that should be enough for Marvel to go like panic. They really shouldn't panic. I liked it. I don't know if that's controversial to say. I thought Thunderbolts was one of Marvel's better movies in several years. I mean, how far back do I have to go to say that there was one I liked on this level? Like maybe the last Spider-Man or something like that. Like I like Marvel movies. Honestly, even from the beginning, most of them are a little above average. And every once in a while you get something like, oh no, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 wasn't that long ago. I like that a lot. Yeah, it is too bad. By the way, always nice to have you here, EJ. I think that like with these series, these sort of like, people don't always just look at Thunderbolts and judge it for itself. They go like, how much did I like Captain America 4? Or whatever was before that, which nowadays I'm having trouble keeping it straight. So if they get a couple in a row that weren't that great, you're going to be a little less excited for this, unless you're a big comic book nerd like I just happen to be. But I liked it. Anyway, it only did okay. Here's a Dazzler casting rumor. Have you guys heard this one? You probably know who this is, right? It took me a minute to learn about her. She's the niece of the voice of Bart Simpson. That's what I learned. Anyway, Hollywood rumor account My Time to Shine Hello says that singer and actress Sabrina Carpenter has already met with Marvel Studios about potentially playing the X-Men member Dazzler. There's nothing official. I don't know. I'll just sort of add to this that Taylor Swift had been really heavily rumored to be popping up in that Deadpool and Wolverine movie as Dazzler. And that definitely didn't happen, So people just sort of look, I think, sometimes at the most popular singer of the day and is like, that should be Dazzler. But I wanted to point out that there is a reason for that. And that's, if we look at its history, Dazzler, and some of you know this, but if you don't, just a little bit of comic history, a tiny mini comic tropes here. Dazzler was originally conceived back in 1979 when Casablanca Records and Marvel Comics decided to collaborate together. There's a couple different versions of who reached out to who first, but they definitely were working together. Casablanca Records had the Village People. They had Donna Summer. They were popular with disco stuff. And so they were like, yeah, let's create a disco character that we could sort of have a live action version of and do songs. And you guys can make comics like about this character's adventures. It was Nightcat before Nightcat came out in the 90s, okay? John Romita Sr. designed the original Dazzler look based on Grace Jones. It was an African-American character. But then Casablanca started not selling so well. Disco died. Casablanca died with it, basically. But it quickly sort of got revived when Bo Derek, technically her husband, who was also her manager, heard about this and was like, I think Bo Derek should play this character. So Marvel redid the character to make her white and blonde so that it would match up with Bo Derek. Ultimately, none of those movies or music came to fruition. But Marvel, anticipating that the Bo Derek version might come out, started introducing her in comics. I guess I didn't include that. But yeah, so she appeared as a guest star in X-Men. What was it? I'm going to guess here, but I'm probably off. 230? I could be wrong on that one. So yeah. Sydney Sweeney as Emma Frost. I like that. I saw what's her name again? Oh yeah, Sabrina Carpenter. I saw her on SNL this year. She is a short little thing, isn't she? She is tiny, but she's popular, and I guess she's done. Not only did I see that she's, done a little TV and a little movies, but she did Broadway. She was in the Mean Girls Broadway version. That carries a lot of weight for me when you can do Broadway theatrical acting. Like, that's not nothing. So 130. I said 230. That did sound like too high. But I got the 30 part. Olivia Newton-John, not involved, but I do know what you're talking about. Yeah. So who knows? Maybe. I think fans would probably enjoy something like that. Okay, so this is sort of what I'm talking about with the thumbnail. Marvel is bringing a comic back to the newsstand. Okay? Not technically a 7-Eleven convenience store or your local grocery store, but if this did well, I'm thinking that maybe it could lead to something like that. So let me talk about it. You all know comics are not common to find in a grocery or convenience store anymore, unless you're in Japan. You will find, a lot of the manga magazines at your local konbini. But here in America, the direct market comic book stores are basically the only way to get them these days. But on July 4th, Marvel put this out. It's a Fantastic Four comic, and they sent that to Newsstand markets. So, it did include Amazon. You could physically buy it there, but bookstores all over. You could buy it. They put it in their magazine section, but it's basically, it's a comic book. Oh, look at that. In Mexico, we have them on convenience stores and newsstands. Certain European countries. Yeah, it seems like it's literally, as far as a big comic book market, it's just America that's abandoned putting them in stores for everybody. What does it have in it? Specifically, they put out this Fantastic Four magazine. It includes 3 Fantastic Four comics, a history of the team if you're trying to get caught up, and some movie info, interviews, I think, with the cast. They've got 2 different covers, one by Art Adams, which I put here, another by Phil Noto, which is definitely pretty. The comics included, they're all modern comics, 3 modern comics, modern-ish. Fantastic Four number 60 from 2002, that was by Wade and Waringo. Nice run there. Fantastic Four 570 from 2009, that was the Jonathan Hickman run, drawn by Dale Eaglesham. And then Fantastic Four number 1 from the run that I've been just hyping to high heavens, Ryan North, drawn by Eben Coelho. So, those are the 3 books that you get. Here's the other thing you get if you buy this. It includes codes to get $30 worth of digital comics on the Marvel app, the Marvel Unlimited app, so that you could continue those stories. You read the first issue, and then if you like them, you can read even more. It comes with the magazine. Can you explain Newsstand super simply? I wasn't reading when that was a thing, so I'm oblivious. Well, first of all, it's a bit of an old-fashioned term, but they do still exist. If you're in a big city like New York, sometimes when you're walking on the street, there's literally a newsstand. That's like a kiosk that sells magazines, newspapers. These days, they'll sell some like drinks and candy bars. Back in the day wasn't that long ago, like up through the 80s, they would also sell comic books. The newsstand grew to include things like your local convenience store, your drug stores, your grocery stores. So if you were anywhere, there was usually a spinner rack or a magazine stand that would have the latest comic books. Watch a movie from the 80s, like Friday the 13th, Part 3, and even though they go to this tiny hole-in-the-wall convenience store in the middle of nowhere, there are a bunch of comic books in the background on the shelves, because that's just the way it was. So that was the newsstand market, and then eventually comic book shops began to become popular, and there were 2 different ways to distribute it. One included what's called now the direct market. Tell you what, that's super simple. I'm not going to go into any more, but if you want more, there's an episode on Comic Tropes literally about distribution. It's just distribution. I think it's a really cool video that I made. Okay. Newsstands are now dedicated to collectibles. Sure. That's a good question. That is not, I don't have a good answer for it. The Sinners costumes, they came from Marvel. This is just a funny story to me. Hopefully you've all seen Sinners. If not, it is now on Max. So you can watch that if you have the HBO service. One of the producers of Sinners, best movie of the year so far, Sev Ohanian, was on the Screen Crush podcast this week and revealed that costume designer Ruth Carter worked on both the Ryan Coogler movie Sinners and was working on the MCU Blade movie that would star Mahershala Ali, which we know went through like 2 directors that left and like about 5 different writers. But at one point, it was just about to go in front of cameras, like last year, I think. And so same costume designer, okay? Apparently, a previous version of that Blade movie had some stuff that was going to be set in the 1920s. Was the whole movie going to be set there? Maybe just, an important sequence of events for mythology? Unknown. But they were going to do a sequence in 1920s. Sinners is 1930s. Close enough. Marvel had all these period piece costumes that were never worn. They'd produced them for the Blade movie, never got used. And now you've got a costume designer who worked on both projects. Ohanian said about Ruth Carter, quote, "She happened to have a warehouse full of period appropriate clothes. And it was like, yo, we got to shoot this movie like tomorrow. And Marvel was generous enough and kind enough to basically let us purchase it at price." So they got a bunch of nice costuming at just the cost of materials or something. Like Marvel didn't make a profit. They were just like, yeah, take them. We're not using them. I just get a kick out of that. Now, I'll be clear. The costumes were not the ones worn by the main characters, but there's all sorts of background characters in a wide variety of scenes in the movie. And that's where it got used. So they had tons of costuming. Yup, Blade is British. People forget that all the time because we know the Wesley Snipes movie version, and he's great, no question. But if you go back to the comics, Tomb of Dracula, where he debuted, they were running all around Europe chasing Dracula, the heroes of that book, and that was where Blade was from. And it made sense because Blade was kind of like a hero you'd have seen in some of those British Hammer horror movies. Jim and I on this channel, Jim Mafood and I reviewed a pair of vampire movies by Hammer Horror, British horror movies. So on this channel on Trash Movie Bonanza. Anyway. Yeah, apparently David Goyer literally reached out to Marvel at some point through his agent and said, you seem to be having trouble getting it going. I'd be happy to get involved, consult or something like that, if it helps. And they were like, you know what? Thank you, but I think we've cracked it. And then a few months later, they shut the production down. Blade is a good character. Blade is a great character. It's amazing that he takes place in a superhero universe, but it should not be that hard. How many vampire TV shows and books and stuff have we had? A vampire hunter really is what I'm talking about. It should not be that hard to have a badass vampire hunter. I say just get a great fight coordinator. It does not have to be big budget, and just set it in the Marvel universe. He has a fight scene in the Daily Bugle or something. I don't need much. It should not be hard. Yeah, it would be great if they treated it like 70s Hammer horror at times, and then just also had some good fight scenes. Just not hard. It's stupid. They're way overthinking it. All right. Some Batman rumors. And look at this beautiful art by Jorge Jimenez. I like this new blue Bat logo too. I like that. The blue and gray, what do I call it? Color scheme. Yeah. So it was recently announced, we talked about this on the show a couple weeks ago, that the Jeff Loeb, Jim Lee Hush 2 run that's taking place in the Batman monthly comic, it's going to get delayed by 2 months. And that would push it to finishing in October, which, they'd already lined up the next creative team to follow Hush 2, Matt Fraction and Jorge Jimenez. They're going to restart it with a new number 1, but it's still the Batman monthly title. And so now it's overlapping the last run and the new one. Is that going to create any sort of continuity issues? According to Bleeding Cool, they say it really shouldn't create any continuity issues because Hush 2 has been largely disconnected from the ongoing Batman continuity that Chip Zdarsky had set up beforehand. They just sort of ignored most of that, and that the Matt Fraction run probably also won't pay much attention to Hush 2. Anyway, preview pages for Batman #1 did come out, and I don't blame them. I don't blame DC for sharing stuff like this. It really is pretty art. They hint at Batman is going to have Alfred exist as like a holographic AI. Alfred's been dead in the comics for many years now. Gordon is now just a beat cop and on the outskirts of the city. Vandal Savage is apparently the new commissioner. He's a supervillain. And Killer Croc is going through some strange mutations. This room, if you look at it, like, it has all sorts of dinosaur art and stuff like that. And then there's a scene with this doctor talking to Batman about Croc. I guess he's mutated further. Matt Baction is going to be Goo, I'm hoping. I hope it's good, but you're hoping it's Goo. Yeah, AI obviously has a negative connotation with us these days, but if it's a disembodied robot type character, I think okay, let's explore it. Batman versus Stegron. There we go. There's a nice pull. Thank you for that, Kevin. Killer Croc is the president. Exactly. I hope it's good. It is kind of weird that they're going to have 2 runs of the monthly Batman comic overlapping, but so be it. How many books can Dan Mora do? I'm going to say 4, but not for long. But let's see. So last week, the big news was Dan Mora got announced as the new artist on Transformers. That was exciting. But a lot of fans got nervous because they've loved what he's been doing at DC, and they were wondering if he's leaving Superman with Joshua Williamson or if he's leaving Justice League Unlimited with Mark Waid, because he's doing both of those books right now. Mora posted about the Transformers gig, and in the replies, he said he is taking on too much work, but he plans to do just 1 book in 2026. As in, one reply in this goes, are you stopping Justice League Unlimited or Superman, or are you doing all 3? And Mora responded with a confident all. He said that he's been working on Transformers in his free time, so I guess they maybe had a lead up to this. They knew that they'd need somebody following the Daniel Warren Johnson, Jorge Corona run, and I guess Mora has been pecking away at this in between doing other books. So crazy how that's a lot of art. John, thank you so much. Much love from my man Jorge, best modern bat artist. Yeah, Jorge Jimenez is so good. I am a stan, as you know. I don't blame you. Very, very good. Very, very good. Some artists are very confident and work very fast. John Romita Jr. comes to mind. In the modern era, he could do at least 2 books a month. He was doing Thor and Spider-Man at the same time. Some artists can do it. It's crazy though. It really is. What if Dan Mora isn't a man, but an idea? An idea realized by many great artists. Yes. Kirby was incredibly fast. Keep in mind, the one big difference is Kirby wasn't inking any of his own stuff. And these days, people do tend to ink their own stuff. So, does Pepe Larraz do more than 1 book at a time? I mean, Peach Momoko has been doing Ultimate X-Men for over a year now, plus tons of variant covers. That's also somebody that's working a lot. I would even say that Daniel Warren Johnson has usually had overlaps with several projects at once. Not that he's drawing 3 to 4 books a month, but yeah. So it's I admire that work ethic. I'm blown away by it, and I also get a little nervous because of what we see happen to people in Japan that are mangaka, that are professional manga artists. they frequently get health problems because they take so little breaks, and they draw more pages a week and a month than Western artists typically do. But, different people can work differently. She has simplified her style for the interior of Ultimate X-Men, but if you look at some of the variant covers she's doing, like recently she's doing one for Big Rig, that Post Malone book. It's very intricate and detailed. So it all depends. She does make some adjustments, but yeah. Burnout is a concern, but so are, health concerns. It's really amazing. Apparently he's doing Superman, Justice League, and Transformers. But he says in 2026, which is, of course, only about 5 months away, if we count this month, we'll say 6. If he's going to go down to 1, I guess he's leaving something. Ouch, Dave. Not your best. Pre-Malone's VW Bug. Dave here pretending to be Bizarro. Bizarro Dave. Dude, I know that. And have you also seen the one that Daniel Warren Johnson did for it? Or no, the one that Jim Mahfood did for it. Oh my God. The covers for that book look good. I'll do some more news. There's been some layoffs at Image Comics. Image Comics does not have a big group of employees. It keeps things running, but obviously the talent is all freelance, not even really freelance so much as they get approved and get to publish through Image and keep all their rights. But Image has very low overhead because they don't have a lot of employees, but they do have some, and they did a few layoffs. So they haven't said anything, to be clear. Image hasn't said anything. This comes from Bleeding Cool, although it can be verified if you look at some of these layoffs. If you look at them on LinkedIn, they've listed when they end their time with Image. So it does seem like Bleeding Cool has this correct. Let's see. So one is somebody that I hear from a bunch, or at least have, Kat Newer. She's a publicist, been with the company for 1 year, but worked for a bunch of other big publishers in comics prior to that. She's just announced that she's going to start Damn Fine Publicity, as in Damn Fine Coffee, Twin Peaks, but Damn Fine Publicity. And that'll be a publicity agency for comic book creators, for publishers, and, related industries, like maybe like a small budget horror movie or something like that. I think that's a good idea for her. I tend to agree that maybe this is some sort of effect from Diamond. Like they may have had to front a certain amount of money that they didn't get back before they switched distributors. I don't know, though. I don't know. It's real professional as a host. You're always tuning in, and who hosts late night stuff these days? Seth Meyers. You don't see him going, what else have we got? Such a bad host. Chloe Ramos. Ugh. She's been with Image for 10 years. In the last 5 years, she's been their book market and library sales manager. She's been laid off, apparently. Patrick O'Connell has been Image's inventory manager for a year, but previously with DC, Dynamite, IDW for long stretches, a lot of comic book history there. I hope all these people are going to land on their feet. And also Deanna Phelps, been with Image for 6 years as their marketing design manager. She would do stuff like back when Image had their own previews catalog. She was the kind of person that would design that stuff. Pretty sure they're not going to lay off Todd. Pretty sure. Hopefully we don't see any big changes or differences. But that means that the work is probably going to have to fall to somebody else. Not great. Here's another thing that's like related, potentially anyway, to, I don't know for a fact about the Image one, but this is definitely related to Diamond distribution. Apparently Diamond owes Dynamite $1 million. That's a lot of money, especially for a publisher that isn't on like the scale of Marvel or something. So previously, Dynamite had filed paperwork during Diamond's Chapter 11 bankruptcy stating they were owed, and I'm just making it like simple instead of getting into all sorts of numbers, a lot of money. Okay, they were owed a lot of money for their books that they'd shipped and not getting paid for, tons of administrative expenses to get them there. This past week, Dynamite asked the bankruptcy court to expedite things. You can petition to have your money paid back faster, and you have to cite case law and have a reasonable, argument supported by facts. And their argument was like, look, we're owed $1 million at this point. We're not going to be able to pay staff if we don't get paid right now. Like, our employees won't get paid. The courts unfortunately rejected Dynamite's petition. They're giving Diamond more time. They're giving them more time. So that came out in the news. The response was a lot of pros trying to help, a publisher like Dynamite. And the best way that like most people could do it was by mentioning their Humble Bundle, which I mentioned last week. It's a way where you get like a ton of digital comics. You can determine how much of it goes to a charity and how much of it goes to the publisher. So either way, it goes to two places, charity and the publisher. This is the one they've got up right now, a ton of their Disney books. But if you like anything by Dynamite, you might want to consider supporting them right now so that they can actually pay their staff. It's rough. This Diamond situation has hurt a lot of people. It's so much more complicated, and I don't like talking about it anymore because it's miserable. It's misery and misery. They should have changed their name to Blood Diamond. Yeah, they're squeezing the industry, that's for sure. We'll see if we can get some fun news. How about this, folks? Well, maybe it's just me, but I am a total mark for Daniel Warren Johnson, both his writing and his art. He's just been one of my favorite guys to emerge in the last several years. So he's announced his next book, shown here. So first of all, it's going to be a Kickstarter for an art book. It's about 270 pages. That's not small. Launches July 15th. So very soon. The book will feature the original scans of the artwork. So you'll get to see like some of his process, underlying pencil work, the different types of ink that are used, whether it's, a screen tone that's like patched on top. You get like more than sort of the cleaned up print ready version. These are the archival scans. So it's available also as either soft cover or a signed hardcover. So, if you're like, hey, I got to watch my budget, there's probably a more affordable option. If you're like, I am a total like mark for this guy, like Chris is, maybe I'm going to get the more expensive version. Here is, I had to shorten it, but if you put that in, that'll take you to a link, that is, saying, hey, Chris sent you. I really hope it does well, but I'm sure it will, to be honest. And I'm glad that I'm going to be able to get a copy. He's got on the Kickstarter page, if you type in that link, he's got a different graphic showing him surrounded by all these different characters that he's drawn over the years, going back to Space Mullet. There's Extremity. There's Murder Falcon, Do a Power Bomb, all that good stuff. Really, really good. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've read Space Mullet. I love the Extremity Signature Edition. I also got that, and it's fantastic. Yeah. Summer of DWJ. Speaking of this sort of idea, art books, if you are a professional and you're doing this stuff, Sean Crystal obviously just had one that I helped promote because I think he had a great way of presenting his art for his sketchbook. I think this one looks cool. Peach Momoko was posting to, I want to say Facebook, some of her sketches and her art. And Jeff Darrow replied and was like, hey, you should put this out as an art book. And I was like, yeah, you really should. And do it yourself. Peach and Yo, put it out yourself. Cut out the middleman. I know you guys are busy, but you'd make a killing doing it. Make a killing. Thank you. Yeah, he's got his guitar. And if you look really closely at the guitar, yeah, that's a falcon there. So that's a reference to Murder Falcon, since that was a musically based story. There's all sorts of little things tucked in. I think that there's a transformer right here. He's got sort of layouts from previous books that he's worked on. It's great. Mike Mignola has several art books, just to be clear. He definitely has big hardcover art books out there. I have one of them. There are several. It's a great series of books. They are out there. All right. I was excited to talk about that one. Wanted to sort of put it in the middle when, people have filtered in and there's more of an audience. I hope people watching this on video on demand at least click on this chapter and get here. I thought this was clever marketing, so I wanted to talk about this. I still don't know exactly what the premise of this book, Voyeur, is. I like the talent behind it, but I really like this marketing idea. Let me... Chris, you should do a power bomb. I want this. Tell you what, yeah, let me get my signature edition of Extremity. I'll flip it and boom, do a power bomb on it. Do I have somewhere over here? Dave would kill me for how disorganized this is, but I've got the French edition of Do a Power Bomb. Here. I knew I had it nearby. Hold on. This is a cool art book. Not art book, but a cool edition of Daniel Warren Johnson. Let me just show this for a second. So this you can only get in France or navigating a French book site. This is Do a Power Bomb by Daniel Warren Johnson, and it's printed in black and white. So you can really, not that Mike Spicer is bad in any way, but it's beautiful to be able to look at the artwork as just black and white line art. I just think it's a really cool edition. Yeah, it's by a publisher called Urban Indies. And it is in French. So, I would say, unless you're fluent, it's probably not the first edition that you want. But beautiful, beautiful book. All right, putting that back up here. My shoulder is still giving me problems, so that wasn't easy. But I do have health insurance, so I just have to pay for it now. I have always had to pay for it, but I have my own plan. My wife was working full time, and I got to be on her fantastic plan. Since she got laid off, we each had to buy our own individual plans. Ugh. So good. Hey, bande dessinée is beloved throughout Europe. The French know what they're doing with comic books. Great production. Oh, I love it. If a black and white hardcover like that was produced for certain runs, I would get it again. I would get it as a monthly floppy, and then I would get it again, like I did with that. For instance, I got Batman Joker Deadly Duo because I like Mark Silvestri. And it was good, but at the back of it, it had a few of his uncolored pages, and I thought it looked incredible. And I was like, boy, would I love a black and white version of that book just for the artwork. Oh, you haven't read that one yet? I'm a little jealous because guess what? That's one of his best. And it's exciting to think of encountering it and reading it for the first time. I really do. I really think you'll like it. I'm a big fan of line art. I do like color, and there are some great colorists out there. So there really are some great ones these days. Tamra, who colors all of the stuff that Pepe Larraz draws these days? That colorist is fantastic. Mike Spicer is a really good one these days. Dave Stewart is still incredible. Or wait, Dave Stewart? No, Cameron Stewart. I'm terrible at names. But I'm also a big fan of black and white line art. I haven't watched Rick and Morty for a few years, but I did see a clip with James Gunn and Zack Snyder. I did see a clip of it, and that was pretty funny, honestly. Yes, thank you. I think Marte Gracia is one of the best colorists right now. That person deserves an Eisner, sincerely. That would be interesting. Wow, black side and black and white. That is one where I think the watercolor style does add quite a bit to it, but if it was in black and white, that would sort of lend to its noir themes. That's an interesting idea. That is really interesting. Dan Panosian has turned into one of the absolute best overall artists in the comics industry. And I agree. Let him do anything he wants art-wise, and you are going to get something gorgeous these days. Dave McCaig, that's a good one too. Yep. Oh, thank you. What is your stance on the use of AI, perhaps in a different medium, to help promote completely human-created comics? You know, it annoys me, and I'll give you an example. So, I thought I might have come across a way that I could use AI to help myself on the last comic tropes that I wrote. Now, I'm not going to have it like give me opinions or a script or anything. That all comes from me. I mean, I just happen to have all this stuff up in my head. But I go, oh, I'll ask AI to get me a list of quotes by Grant Morrison about this work. That could like be helpful. And then I'll have a bunch of quotes that I might be able to use. Well, I should have just Googled stuff, but I asked AI. I was like, give me a list of like quotes from Grant Morrison, and it gave me a big list. And I put those in my script, and thank God I double checked before I went too far. All of a sudden, it like just occurs to me. I go, I don't like this quote could be from Grant, but there's just something about it that didn't sound like his voice, their voice. And I was like, I could be wrong, but I'm going to check this. And it had the right year and the right publication that Grant did an interview, but the quote was completely fabricated. It wasn't a real quote. And then I looked at the others. They were all just taking like and simplifying it, but they were giving it to me as a quote. And so I go, you know what? I can't trust AI. I can't trust it. Do I think that there could be uses for AI to, if you know, it was programmed correctly, do medical research or simplify menial filing tasks? Yeah, there might be a way to utilize it in that way. But for anything creative, no, I think it fails. And then apparently for even doing basic research like this, no, I couldn't trust it. Thank goodness I checked my work before I went too far. That would have made me feel so stupid if I put out an episode and then someone was like, Chris, where did Grant say this specific thing? Oh, so you asked me for my opinion, and my opinion is I don't feel that I can trust it, and I don't like the results that it produces. I'm stunned that it's being pushed so hard by so many different places. I wish I did have faith in it, but couldn't trust it. Going back to the news. All right, so Ignition Press, newer publisher, Voyeur is going to be one of their debut books, and obviously they want to promote it at the upcoming San Diego Comic-Con later this month. They've got a really unique way of doing that. The first opportunity to get Voyeur by Leah Williams and David Baldion, which features a variant cover, is the Voyeur Burlesque show, which will be held Friday, July 25th, 8:30 p.m. at the Ignition Press Room. So this is at San Diego Comic-Con, to be clear. It's going to be held at a burlesque show. It's like sort of a sexy comic of some sort. That sounds so smart. They're going to give away 50 tickets at their booth on both Thursday and Friday, so a total of 100 guests. Plus, I think they have a few extra for press, but you have to reach out to them fast if you're going to do that. And then that Friday night, they'll have the show. The tickets to the show are first come, first serve. It does come with 2 free drinks. So it's going to be like going to a Dr. Sketchy's in that regard. You get 2 free drinks, you get the show. You probably would want to tip the performer. Just putting that out there if you do go to this. So it's 21 plus. Burlesque shows typically don't really feature explicit nudity, but it is usually a strip show. It's a tease, but it usually is like some really impressive performance and dancing. I admire it because I keep going every once in a while to Dr. Sketchy's. They give you a burlesque show, but you get to draw the model in timed poses. It's really fun. Anyway, to get the ticket itself is basically free, but you have to purchase a book or a piece of merchandise from their press room, which I think is only fair. You don't want like 50 people that don't really care about the book to show up. So anyway, I think that that's just a really innovative way to promote this specific book. Yeah, different ones can sometimes go out of business, and then it becomes somebody else can buy the license and start it back up. I've had fun. I've done Dr. Sketchy's in DC when I lived there. I've done it here in Seattle, and I've done it in Tokyo. So yeah, and I got recognized in Tokyo. Oh yeah. I'm not surprised by that at all. That is totally a New Orleans-esque thing. I miss New Orleans sometimes. I miss it sometimes. What else do we have? Look, it's a job. I'm not the biggest fan of heritage auctions. I think that they run their business. Well, there seems to be evidence, I'll say, that they have artificially inflated bids on stuff in the past. I don't know for a fact. I've just read articles that seem to indicate that they've done stuff like that in the past. So, yeah. But it's also like one of the few places where you can sometimes find rare comics and original art. It's going to go through it because it's a big house. And maybe you want a job in comics, but you don't want to be a writer or an artist or something. This is a job in comics, okay? If you consider yourself a comics expert and a decent writer, because you're going to have to write, sort of copy for magazines and online and stuff like that to talk about what's there, Heritage Auctions has posted a job for comics cataloguer. I'll explain. Position, by the way, is located a little south of the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. So you either have to be willing to relocate or be living somewhere near there. Here's one piece from like what they say the job is. Responsible for cataloging consignments of comic books, original comic book art, and comic book related memorabilia, and providing an expert opinion of these items to consignors, bidders, the public in general, associates, and other auction venues. There's the website. So if that sounds like the kind of thing where you like, I would love to see, like rare collections and art come through and just, explain what they are, give my opinion on them. Maybe that's a job for you. You're going to catalog them at your house. You'll work remotely. Just send it to me. Trust me. You may have heard about this already. I'm not super plugged into the news on the collecting, or at least the graded part of collecting, but it is a big part of comics. I acknowledge that, and I respect it for the people that enjoy that aspect of it. It's part of what keeps the hobby going. If that was the biggest part or the only part, comics are in trouble, because now you have people that are looking at it as an asset, not as a story, and they're going to lose interest at a certain point. But grading is important, and it's big business. So PSA is getting into that. PSA, arguably, but I think most people would agree, is the biggest card grading company. Baseball cards, collectible cards, that kind of stuff. it launches grading comics next week, July 14th, 1 week from now. PSA focused on making its slabs tamper evident, something that CGC has been criticized for. They said that they focused on trying to make sure if somebody cracked this open, you're going to know. There's not a way to reseal it. It's 99.9% UV reflective, produced with polycarbonate. Company says it's nearly unbreakable. Great. Let's put this in body armor. It has an impact strength 250 times stronger than glass. I'm just going to go out into a fight carrying a slabbed comic. Nobody can beat me. Pro wrestlers, instead of hitting each other in the back with a title belt or a steel chair, they're going to pick up a graded copy of Incredible Hulk 181. Take that, Stone Cold. People don't even know who Stone Cold is anymore. I'm old. It's also optimized for stackability, they said. That's something that PSA apparently is known for with their cards. You can stack them. It's not going to get all weird and wobbly. And they ultimately went with the same dimensions as the CGC slabs. They tried to do their own thing, but then asked for feedback before they went public. And people were like, yeah, even though you're a different company, I want to be able to put all of them in the same box. I want to have them all be uniform. I don't want to deal with 2 or 3 different companies. So they were like, okay, we're used to being the industry leader in a field, but fair enough. We're going to do it the same size as CGC. By God, he's got a slabbed giant size there. Oh my God, that thing is 250 times stronger than glass. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Finally, I've laid the smacketh down with a PSA slab of giant size Man-Thing number 1. Well, you shot me. But you forgot. I always have a slabbed comic under here. Pilgrim. That's a perfect impression. Nailed it. All right. What else? Oh, IDW is doing same-day digital comics now. There's usually been a gap, but IDW is doing it. So this starts July 9th, just 2 days. IDW is going to launch same-day digital releases of their comics on Global Comics. At the $7.99 a month tier, subscribers to Global Comics Gold will be able to read new releases of stuff like you see here, Sonic, Godzilla, Star Trek, Turtles, all that good stuff. Immediately. If it's just your monthly subscription, you get to read any of their books same day. You don't have to pay extra. Just to be clear, though, IDW also, of course, owns Top Shelf. We'll call it their more literary division or their more indie division. Those will be available to purchase a la carte individually, but are not part of just sort of same-day release. Larry asks, have you been working on your real-life superhero story at all? Genuinely curious, but maybe you should also add that protective slab is one of your weapons. You definitely have creative license. I have not worked on that one at all, no. I think it could be an interesting story at some point. That would be, I think, a tricky one to find an artist that was willing to draw my bit of life story, and I don't have the time to draw it myself. So I've been focusing my creative efforts on other stuff. Yeah, mostly my werewolf story is what I want to do first. But maybe at some point, if I could get 1 or 2 comics that I wrote that did well, respectable, then yeah, I've got that in my back pocket. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it, Larry. Get Dan Mora. Yeah, exactly. He's like, well, I have been sleeping at night. I guess I could cut that out. I don't know. I'm really I'm too modest sometimes, and I'm too empathetic to others, so I don't really like to ask people for things. But I will when the time is right, when I feel like I've got some time to do it. Let's wrap up the news. What else did we have for news? Two more pieces. Beneath the Trees hot sauces, everybody. Hey, as somebody that has had crazy hot sauces on the show when I launched this, this speaks to me. Hot sauces tied to comic books. So, Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees by Patrick Horvath, that sequel series, Rites of Spring, launches this Wednesday, the 9th. And it's a horror comic. If you haven't read it, it's populated by talking animals. They wear clothes. They look almost like something out of a Richard Scarry book, but it is about a serial killer. So it's just got some tonal disconnects, but it's a great cat and mouse. I never thought about that. I wonder if that was an inspiration for the story, but it's a cat and mouse type of game between, a killer and getting discovered. So IDW announced that they've got a collaboration with Jade City Foods, 5 hot sauces, $18 each, or all 5 for $75. They've got duck soup, bird's eye pepper, Just Another Day at the Office, chili extract. This one sounds good to me. Don't Lose Your Head, orange mango pineapple habanero. Ooh. Head of the Class ghost pepper. Yikes. That sounds intense. And Saw Blade Special, mango habanero. Anybody out there like hot sauces? When I saw this news, which is today, it probably won't amount to anything, but I said to IDW, I go, hey, how about Patrick and I do like a riff on that Hot Ones show? We each put one of these hot sauces on something. I ask a question for each one, just see how it goes. I think that would be fun and funny on this show. And, maybe if it even happened, we'd probably be promoting issue 2 or 3, but still, I think that would be fun and funny. It's not up to me. It's up to how busy somebody like Patrick is and whether he was amused by that idea. But I pitched it to them. I just have to imagine he's super busy with how popular it is. So I would never be offended if he was too busy or something like that. Hot trees. Yeah, when I ate that, what was that called? Like the one chip challenge I did on this show. Oh my God, that just about killed me. But that I forgot about that. I was like, didn't I do something hot more than those hot peppers with Rob Liefeld episode? Yeah. When I lived down in New Orleans, there were all sorts of these craft hot sauces. And if you go into downtown Seattle, like the touristy Pike Place Market, there's a lot of hot sauces. I like hot sauces. I do. Is he related to Teen Titans Go producer Aaron Horvath? I don't know. I don't think so. I think I'd come across that if that was possible, but I don't know. Anyway, if this sounds interesting to you, you can go to Jade City Foods, pick one up. Whether you either like hot sauce or the comic, it's a definitely an innovative idea for a way to promote things. I would never have guessed it. Last piece of news for me. The manga predicted earthquake or tsunami, really. It didn't happen. Can you believe it? That was months and months ago I talked about it, and it kept showing up in comic book news ever since. And I was like, can this please just pass so that we can get past it? But I'll explain. So, Japan's weather agency this week said that an earthquake that rattled some small islands in the nation's southwest on this past Saturday was in no way connected to a manga author's disaster prediction. I think that's funny that they felt the need to clarify. So, Japanese artist Ryo Tatsuki made a prediction in a manga called The Future I Saw, a manga that did have some other predictions come true, okay? But there was one prediction that a massive earthquake was going to hit Japan, really a tsunami, I should say, on July 5th, okay? So tourism literally declined for the week around that, especially in Hong Kong. Apparently, Hong Kong citizens are a little more superstitious. But yeah, Japan said we definitely are getting less tourist bookings because people apparently are taking this somewhat seriously. To be clear, folks, nothing happened. You're safe to go. Some did come true. I'd have to go back and find the episode, but yeah. Politicians going on sudden vacations are a better predictor of upcoming disasters. Yeah, why are you leaving here so suddenly? That doesn't seem right. You've got work to do. All right. That was the news of the week. News of the week. I'm setting up my camera so that we can talk about some comics that came out this week. But guess what? I only read 3, and then I'll draw some. So, yeah, don't have a whole lot to talk about there. I just need to set this up, so bear with me a moment. I just realized that my sister isn't in the chat room. She must have decided to skip the show. I'm offended. Oh, and I've got something cool to show you. Hold on. Present another camera. Yeah. Okay, this is going to be fun. All right. So I've got some comics here. I've got some stuff that I'll draw here. Let me center this. I got something so cool. First of all, I will be talking about this book in a minute, but I want to just adjust something real quick. I got a third-party Transformer, which I've never done before. I don't really have many Transformers. Look at this. Based on Daniel Warren Johnson's Transformers run, where Optimus Prime loses his arm and gets it replaced with Megatron's. This does fully transform. I can't do that on screen because it is the most complex transformation you've ever seen. You have to read the directions. It is wild. Fully posable, like super posable. You can like adjust just about every joint. Has tons of moving parts to it. You can swap out the hands. I could swap this out with like a regular Optimus Prime arm, but it does transform into the truck. It's so detailed. You can even open his chest here and look at what's inside. The Matrix of Leadership. Isn't that cool? But this transforms into his truck version, and this cannon is just sort of riding on top. This is by or you can buy it on Show Z Store, it's called, and it's by a third-party Transformers manufacturer called New Age. And they call this guy David, just to be clear. But yeah, totally posable. It's amazing. The transformation takes a long time. It's very complex. You have to read the directions and probably do it a lot of times to memorize it. But I just thought it was kind of cool because I really like the Daniel Warren Johnson run, and it spoke to me just getting this Optimus Prime. So, yeah. Oh, I like that idea. Blind Megatron with like a pluggable laser beak. Yeah. I'm not going to start with this, though. Let me start because I've got a little less to say about some of these others. Look, in fact, while I love talking up G.I. Joe, I won't go too into detail because I do know that it's a little bit of a hard sell to get people to jump in on issue 318. But this is a fun ongoing adventure comic where the characters are just really likable and professional. And each issue is generally readable as sort of an episodic thing, even though there's always ongoing stories. And I got to say, I really do like the stuff Andy Kubert's been doing on the covers. I like the G.I. Joe Ninja team. The inside is by Paul Pelletier, who's good. Maybe not my favorite, but good. And I would say I like it more than most of what was in the IDW run. The Marvel run sometimes had excellent artists, every once in a while sort of average. This is above average. Anyway, yeah, just involves a bunch of different G.I. Joe teams doing a bunch of different stuff. Oh, you know what's interesting about this? Cobra Commander has been captured by Destro, okay? And he escapes in or at least he thinks he's escaped. And I thought this was interesting. Like, this is Cobra Commander right here. And he's been captured for a while, so I don't think he's wearing a mask anymore. He has been presented as looking like this in the past, but when he first showed up like that, we were given to understand that he was in a disguise. But I think this is legit what Cobra Commander looks like as a person. They've never really tried to make him as mysterious in the comics about like what he looks like behind his mask, and they don't have any of the weird Cobra Law sci-fi stuff. So yeah, this is just, I just thought that was interesting that, you know, there's characters like Snake Eyes and Cobra Commander and stuff that you don't always see what they look like under their mask, but in the G.I. Joe comic, you actually do get to see it at a certain point. But anyway, so it's fun, but I'll leave it there. So, there's been these one-shots of, you know, Godzilla versus Marvel characters, and I liked the first two, which was Fantastic Four set in the 60s, and then Hulk set in the 70s. And then there was Spider-Man in the 80s, X-Men in the 90s, and Avengers in the 2000s. And I wasn't really feeling any of them, so I wasn't planning on getting this. I was like, yeah, I think they've lost me. Because it was a light week, I was like, okay, you know, instead of getting just G.I. Joe, I'll get Godzilla versus Thor too. I'm really glad I did. It's by Jason Aaron, and it finally does something different for these. All the other ones basically have Godzilla, you know, going up against another monster at a certain point. Sometimes teaming up with the hero, but always going up against another monster. This finally just has Godzilla as an out-and-out villain, and very much based on one of the Millennium movies where Godzilla was said to be possessed by the dead souls of fallen soldiers and had completely white eyes, like he was possessed. And in fact, he sort of is a little possessed in this, because the villain's sort of Godzilla, but also the Hand, the version of the Hand from Jason Aaron's awesome Punisher run. So they worship the Beast, and like their priestess has been like, we've always tried to give the powers of the Beast to the worst killer in society, and we thought the Punisher would be that guy. But what if there's somebody that's killed even more people than the Punisher? Like, what if we gave it to Godzilla and they revive like the still beating heart of like supposedly dead Godzilla with like a sacrifice and give him the powers of this dark god called the Beast? And the only one that can like really take him on at this point is another god, Thor. And Thor fights him, but things go so bad. Like, he saves Earth, but Asgard gets wrecked in this, and Godzilla is just monstrous. It's just epic, and it's really cool to see Godzilla presented as just a scary monster, not like a force of nature. It's really cool. I won't go too far. Artwork by what's his name? Cooter. I forget the first name. Hold on. I was thinking I had to be thinking it wrong, but no, it's Jason Aaron and Aaron Cooter. That's interesting. Folks, it's a fun one-shot. It's a fun one-shot of Thor essentially fighting, you know, the Midgard serpent, for instance, or some sort of gigantic dragon, but it's Godzilla, and it's a Godzilla that's empowered by Marvel mythology. I like that it uses a bunch of Marvel mythology. I like that it presents this version of Godzilla that's just a monster, an outright monster. I like that. It was different. It was epic. And yeah, the ending is good. It's just a great one-shot. It's really, really fun. I love Godzilla. Made a whole sculpt for my channel. this comic looks great. It was. So, as far as the one-shots go, they lost me a little with Spider-Man, X-Men, and Avengers. I was like, there are fun ideas within it. Some of the art is good, but it just wasn't giving me anything like that I loved. And I was like, yeah, I've gone on too far just because I like Godzilla so much. At the last minute, I picked it up, and I'm just glad I did. It's a fun one-shot. Thank you, Rami. Lazarus was really good. Great art, too. Lazarus, huh? I don't know Lazarus. Sorry to be dopey about that. So, that was good. But here's sort of the big thing of the week is the next graphic novel by Eric Powell and Harold Schechter, who previously did a book that became one of my top 10 for the year. They did a biopic on Ed Gein, Whatever Happened to Eddie Gein. Really disturbing book. Here's another really actually scary biopic based on Dr. Frederick Wertham, the guy who really helped torpedo the comics industry with his testimony in front of Congress in the 50s, damning comics as causing all sorts of delinquency in children. This is co-written by Eric Powell as well, by the way. I just want to point out that he's not just the artist. This was a fascinating biopic that really does not focus on just the comics testimony. It focuses on Frederick Wertham's whole life. And he was a complex and complicated individual, is what I came to learn. Okay? He, first of all, worked with some criminals, as a psychiatrist, worked with some criminals that had done some really horrific stuff. So this book is not for all ages, just to be clear, because it talks about two people in this that did some really heinous crimes. Yeah. Oh man, just scary as heck. But it goes through his whole life. And Dr. Wertham, I came out of this thinking several things that I didn't know before. First of all, I go, as a therapist with his patients, seems like a good man. He treated everybody with humanity. And, he was somebody who did not judge people with prejudices. He helped a lot of Black people, especially in Harlem, created a clinic and tried to get, he got a lot of volunteers to help the poor and give them access to mental health care that they did not otherwise have. He didn't judge gay people. He's this is a lot more common than you might think. Let's talk this through. He always treated his patients with humanity, but he didn't get along well with his superiors, and he always thought that he was right and others were wrong. And I would call him a bit of a hypocrite because he said comics are vulgar and they create violent children. They create violent tendencies. But at the same time, he would write books about these criminals that did horrible things and got them turned into a play at one time and kept trying to get them turned into movies. So that's hypocritical to me. He's like, oh, what? So a play or a movie can go into stuff where, children are getting murdered and stuff. And somehow that's okay. But a fictional comic book is a problem. It's crazy. It's hypocritical. But did he give testimony that helped overturn separate but equal statutes in our country in education? Yeah, he did. He did some good stuff here and there. He was bad for comics. He was a hypocrite, in my opinion. A lot of people that worked with him just did not like working with him. He was very difficult to work with. It's a really interesting story. Here's some pages on EC Comics, because of course that's an important part towards the end. So yeah, the comics itself is really just sort of the last 1 to 2 chapters, and the rest is his life. I would say it's scary. It's eye-opening to see the beginnings of modern psychotherapy and the beginning of like people understanding schizophrenia and things like that. Very good. Art is incredible. Story is very interesting. I would say this is very likely to end up on my top 10 books of the year. This was quite a good book. It's published by Dark Horse. It's $30, about 200 pages. Art is fantastic. The art is really, really good. And Frederick Wertham encountered some famous people in his life that he just worked with professionally. Beyond the stuff here with Bill Gaines. Earlier, he's like Thurgood Marshall, for instance. Guess who was in the play version of one of his stories of a patient that killed his mother? James Lipton, the guy that went on to host Inside the Actors Studio. As a young man, he was the lead in a play based on one of Frederick Wertham's books. The art is 10 out of 10. I have no problem at all saying this. Dr. Werthless is my pick for Book of the Week. No question. Do I give it a recommendation? Strongly. But I do want to caution you that it does involve criminals doing some of the most heinous stuff possible. It's not it doesn't really show anything, but it does tell you in text some of the horrible things and in conversations, because he's the therapist, I'll also say that here's something I like about this. Sometimes when you read a biopic, there can be too many pages of where it's just text and a picture, and it feels more like a picture book. Okay. You're going to get some of that in a biography, no matter what. But here's what it does well. It remembers that it's a comic. So you get you get a story of following a person through a day, or you get a dinner party where the people are talking to each other, and you're not just getting image and text that doesn't really work. It's actually a comic book with panel-to-panel transitions and storytelling. So that's something I really admired about it. The balance seems more tilted towards text than pictures. I would say that this is definitely going to have way more text than your average fictional comic, because it's about real life, and there's a lot to tell about this man's life. So there is a lot more, but it was always interesting. Because, the text, it's talking about some real life and death stuff. It's talking about changing of laws, changing of how we look at people's rights. It's talking about people on death row. So is there a lot of text? Yeah, but it's all pretty interesting to read. So does it lean a little bit more towards a book than some comics? It does, but it's great. It's really good. I strongly recommend it. Somebody was asking an update on my Hound and Clutch thing. I guess I thought I finished that on the show. If I didn't, yeah, there it is. I drew Clutch from G.I. Joe handing Hound a tiny little wrench. If it was colored, you could probably see the wrench a little better. So last week, I started something new. I made a chick-tracked version of Dominic Toretto from Fast and Furious. And I didn't know for sure if people would like it, but they seem to. So I've sketched out lightly a second one, and I was going to ink that, and we can talk about any sort of comic book or comic book related stuff while I do a little bit of artwork. I hope that is acceptable to all. First, I'm just going to ink some lettering so that I know where to leave some space. Thank you. Oh, you guys are so nice. Wait, Dom is Destro? Do you guys like All-Star Superman? That's actually a fair question. I just did the episode, and that's an interesting question. Do you like All-Star Superman? I love it. I tried to address some of the common criticisms. I understand that art is not always going to appeal to everybody, and not everybody wants a super positive story. But it very much worked for me. I'll tie something into that. Do you have a favorite Superman story? I don't know that lettering is my favorite aspect. I would say that the most fun for me is drawing. I appreciate good lettering a lot. I liked working on it, but I like drawing the most. Writing I like second most, and I think I do a better job writing than I do drawing. Love All-Star Superman, All-Star intro. Oh, good. I hope you do watch it. Yeah, thank you. Just picked up the compact version. I think I linked to it in my video, too. I always like the way Morrison wrote Superman in his JLA run. Yeah, I mentioned that briefly, but yeah. When are you watching Superman? Not sure when I'll have time. Not sure. Would you step away from YouTube if you worked full-time in the comic industry? I don't. There's nothing that would make me want to step away from doing YouTube at this point. And it's really unlikely, just to be clear, that I would work full-time in the comic industry. It's just, I'm not a young man. So even if I was writing, say, a monthly comic, I might do this a little slower, but I would never stop. Wow, read it once a year. I read like 50 new issues of Superman because of the new the new League of Comic Geeks challenges. I don't know that. I'm sorry. I haven't read any Superman, but I'm interested in Louise Simonson's run because I loved her X Factor. Wheezy's great. Out of town in Atlanta, I took advantage of the back issue bins at Great Escape to finish my All-Star Superman run, plus Fantastic Four by All Red and The Sword by the Luna Brothers. Needed the final issue of each. That's great. That's great. What are your top 3 snacks of all time? Of all time? So I can list stuff that I wouldn't eat now because these days, to be clear, I avoid sugar. But all time, popcorn is way up there. I love popcorn. I also love peanuts. And then I would say cheese balls, Planters cheese balls I really liked.
Comic troopers are family.
Almost done with my little bit of lettering, and then we can focus a bit more on the art. Although I'm not trying to be the best artist so much as just tell something functional. Because this is more meant to be silly and funny. Sorry that my head sort of goes out of camera here and there when I draw. I don't know the best way to set this up that it would be viewable for everything. Can I make myself tiny? Let me see if I can make myself tiny. No. I'll have to figure it out another time. Vin is easy. Vin's likeness is easy. I don't know why. I was flattered that Gail Simone said she liked the last one of these that I did. That she's nice. She's a kind person. Okay, let's do some. I'll switch over to a brush pen for this. I need to place an order on jetpens.com because I would love to do one of these where I've got like either a quill or an actual brush. I'm pretty sure YouTube does not allow for beer sponsorships, Dave, but good idea. Any tips on using a nib? Don't push too hard or it cracks. So have a bunch. If you find one that you like, get a bunch of the same ones all at once. Oh yeah, dude, that movie was that game was getting bad reviews from the moment it came out. But a friend and I rented it one night, and we're like, maybe if we both take it seriously and try, maybe we can at least move forward. And I don't think either of us, trading back and forth for hours, got past the first level, the supposed training level. Ugh, terrible game. Just awful. Have I read any good manga lately? Let me think. I mean, my favorite these days that's coming out regularly is Dan. Oh, and by the way, season 2 just launched on Netflix, just the first episode. It was fun and action-packed, but they changed the opening theme song. I was really disappointed. I loved Creepy Nuts by Otonoke. I thought that was such a good, catchy theme song. And I guess the showrunner said, oh, this is a more action-packed season and we wanted to change it up. And I go, what? But that was great. That's all. But the animation was good. What else was good for manga? I'm looking around to see if I've got any here. I guess I haven't really been reading as much as I do sometimes. I would if I came across something good. Yeah. You've seen all first 3 episodes? That's awesome. The song Grows on You. I like it now a lot. Still such a good show. Well, then I'll keep trying. And, I'm sure it is a good song. It felt more like a traditional anime song to me, if that makes sense. But that's okay. Have you tried reading any manga? It's my favorite. Yaiba Samurai Legend. Vinland Saga is ending later this month. I know. Yeah, this month. Final chapter going to come out. I read the latest hardcover of that. Talked about that in this show when it came out. I've never gotten a statue from Sideshow. I do get a few of the Hot Toys figures based on usually like MCU properties. Not every single one because there's just way too many, but I do get some of those, and I like them. Hot Toys are awesome. Super detailed. Super well painted. And I've been to their secret store in Hong Kong a couple times, which is more like a museum. It's awesome. Oh, Ironheart. That's a good question. I've only seen the first 3 episodes. I haven't had time because I was really working to, all my free time was editing All-Star Superman video on comic tropes. But the first 3 episodes, I was like, well, this is kind of interesting and cool. I was surprised that, I think that we assumed it was bad because Marvel was not really promoting it a lot. It was just sort of in a weird space where we're like, well, it must be bad because they're just not mentioning it. I didn't think it was bad at all. I can't wait to see how it all resolves. Yeah, no big complaints from me. Do I think it was exceptional? Maybe not exceptional, but I think that the main actress is quite good. Quite good. I did read a bunch of Kaiju number 8 and I liked it, and I lost track of which volume I read last, and I don't have it organized, so I just don't know where to pick it up. I will someday. Yeah, don't spoil anything for me. I didn't watch Old Guard 2 yet. I did see that one wasn't getting the same level of good reviews that the first one got. I did like the first one. I like Charlize Theron. She's really talented. She's really something special. I don't know. But did anybody else watch Old Guard 2? Does it take anything from the comics? Is it worth watching? Kaiju 8 ended. That makes it easier for me to catch up at some point. Do you think Skybound's Transformers will change in tone when Kirkman takes over the writing? Probably to some degree. I do expect something like that. And I'm sure that Kirkman will endeavor to keep a similar characterization to what's been established. I also think Robert is going to be inspired by a lot of the same stuff that Daniel was with, the G1 cartoon. Which will make some of it consistent. But I think that Robert tends to be focused a lot more times on long-term character beats as well as like big plot changes. I think it might lose a little bit of its what would I call it? Some of its character work, I guess, just a little bit. I hope it doesn't lose a lot. I don't expect it to. But yeah, I mean, Robert and Dan are 2 very different writers in a lot of ways. So we'll see. Old Guard 2 is boring. That's too bad. Scariest comic books of all time. Of all time. I think I could argue the case for the Bernie Krigstein comic. What was its title? The one that I really analyzed deeply in my episode about Bernie Krigstein. It was an EC comic. And it was like it's about basically a guy falling into a subway train. I can't remember the title right now. That one's pretty disturbing. I think that Whatever Happened to Eddie Gein by Schechter and Powell was a really scary book. What else is a scary book? Thank you. Master Race is the title of what I'm thinking. Oh, wow. Thanks for making both Comic Tropes After Dark and Tropes. I love both shows and appreciate the effort and care you put into them. Thank you, Robin. I mean, I sincerely do put in my every effort to make it as good as I can. But wow, thank you for the support. That's incredible. Thank you. Everybody's been very kind tonight. I'll have to check out Crossed someday. I haven't read it, but I'm curious. Boy, I know that I've read some scary comics, and all of a sudden I'm sort of drawing a blank right now. I'm sorry. Thank you again, Robin. That was really, really nice. Remember when Dominic Toretto brought down a whole parking garage with a foot stomp? That happened. You know what I think would make for a good YouTube show? Although, I just started to say it, and I bet it already exists. I was about to say, like, get a bunch of comic book YouTubers just because they've got, some personality stuff that could mesh well, and have one of them host a pretty loose Dungeons and Dragons type role-playing game. But you know what? There's got to be other shows doing that, right? Role-playing games, anyway? There's got to be. I was about to think that I had a good new idea, and as soon as I was about to say it, I was like, wait a minute. Somebody's definitely done that. What was the name of the Alien comic with art by Mignola? Lost that one. Was kind of scary if I remember correctly. By Mignola? I mean, the original adaptation was by Walt Simonson. I love the one Dead Orbit. Mignola? Wait. Did he do Superman Aliens or something? No, he didn't do that. Nerd Poker by Brian Posehn. Yeah, I think I was aware that existed. I've never been to a drive-in theater. I would love to. As a movie nerd, I would love to, but I've never had a drive-in theater anywhere close to where I live. Let's go Mets. You are a loyal Mets fan. You are Mr. Met. Alien Salvation. And apparently Dave Gibbons wrote it. Oh, Dave Gibbons and Mike Mignola on an Alien book? Wow, apparently I don't know about this, folks. Huh. That's great to learn about. Critical Role has video game voice actors running D&D games. Deborah Ann Wolf has been a wonderful GM. Huh. That's fun. That's really fun. Deborah Ann Wool was supposed to be at Washington SummerCon a couple weeks ago, but at the last minute, she wasn't able to come for some reason. And the only reason I think that's weird is all the other Daredevil actors were there. So what was she doing? Like, what is... I'm not trying to be dismissive of her, but what else has she got going on? Maybe she had to host a campaign last minute. They were like, Deborah, we need you to host a campaign, sweetheart. I don't know how to host one of these things. It's hard being a woolly mammoth that doesn't know D&D. Inked by Kevin Nolan. Oh my God. On Mike Mignola. That sounds fantastic. Wow. No real update on it. I would love to do it at some point. I was talking about it a little bit earlier because somebody else asked. It's definitely backburnered. It would be fun. I just don't think it should be like my priority. I don't think it would be the thing that people get most excited about. So if I could do a different comic and that did well, then I might pivot and do that next. Thanks for asking. That's flattering. Has anybody finished Squid Game? I've only seen one episode so far of the final season, but it seemed pretty good. Those are terrible fingers. Oh well. Come over to this bigger Dom. Should I move to Japan tomorrow? Just kidding. Wait, Chrissy. Oh, we still have a couple drive-in theaters in operation out in the boonies of Washington. I've heard about that, Chrissy. Yeah, they're up near like Bremerton or something, pretty far. But I would go sometime if they had a good movie. Like that would, I would just love to do that at least once. A New Zealand comedy group called Viva La Dirt League put out a game called Nice Day for Fishing that plays off of their skits. That's cool. Are you currently working on any other comics? I would say that I'm working with very limited extra like free time that I have on two things. One, I've in my opinion, I think I've shaped up my werewolf story. I've got like a one-shot horror comic based on werewolves is all that I think would be ready to go. Need to get an artist on that. I really need to just get out of my comfort zone and ask somebody, and if they don't work, move on to the next person. And then I did get asked by a close friend to do a commission, and I keep going like I'm too busy, but I've got a commission that I'm laying out. Yeah, so that's sort of what I'm doing. Other than I go, okay, a little bit of fun time for me to just draw what I feel like I'll do on this show because it's just part of a show, and so I'm rolling it in. Thanks for asking. I bought Swamp Thing New 52 Omnibus for $45. Was that by Jeff Lemire from the beginning? I remember New 52, Jeff Lemire was doing Animal Man, and I liked that. But I don't remember who was doing Swamp Thing. Their wolves, their castle. Don't get it. Random fun question, and I want to hear what the chat thinks too. Which Daniel Warren Johnson self-made book do you think would make a great animated movie? Oh, man. Animated movie. I think Extremity might be the place to start. I think that would probably translate best to an animated movie. Nice. But I don't live in Massachusetts. I'm in Washington. Do a Powerbomb. Murder Falcon. Young Frankenstein. Have you seen the first episode of... Yes, I talked about it briefly earlier. I did see the first episode. Good animation, cool action, a little bit of funny stuff. I just was like a little disappointed that they changed the opening theme song, but I'm going to give it a shot. Get used to it. I'm going to give it a shot. No matter what, I've got the manga, which I really like. All right, go back to this. Let's see. Yeah, I use Blue Sky. I would say, I'm intermittent on any social media platform because there's plenty of days where I'm just working my day job and not really messing around. I wish I could. Thank you. Hope this helps with the bills. Of course it does. It really does. How are you doing at that new position at work? Definitely try to do the drive-in. Maybe see a horror movie. Love your channels and the work you do. Yeah, I like my new position at work. I miss getting to talk to my sales coworkers as much as I did on that side of things. But I'm still in the same building, so I still see them. If I take any breaks, I go talk to those people. I like my new coworkers a lot. I like this work. There's a little less pressure on just sort of like in sales, it was the only way you got paid is if you're selling a car. And so there was always a pressure every single day to produce. Whereas now I'm getting an hourly and yeah, I still want to just produce good customer service. I like to work hard, but there's a little less pressure and I need that. I need that right now. And I think it gives me a little bit more time at home here with Chrissy and stuff now. Because, yeah. Yeah, I've heard a few people say that they were disappointed when I changed it. I mean, I'm thinking of changing it again. I try not to get too stale. And I feel like, I started doing a version of my show where I was winging it. Because I didn't know it would grow to anything. I would just grab a comic, talk about what I knew about the artist or the writer, and say, let's see how many times we see these things that they're known for. It's very, very basic. And then time went on and I was like, let's add some comedy to it because I love doing funny stuff, so I added a bunch of that. And then I was like, I think that people might appreciate the comedy, but it doesn't always mesh with the show. So I should just focus on, maybe a funny opening here and there. If there's a funny joke, fine. But mostly let's focus on the essay that I'm trying to get across. Let's just focus on that. And now I feel like, it might be time to think of a new way of doing something. Should I change comic tropes to a pure interview show? Well, the views would probably go down, but I would like it. I don't know, maybe for now, I don't have a good idea of exactly what to pivot to next, but I never want the show to be completely stale. I'd rather have people saying, boy, I'm still watching, but I did love when you did this era or that era. And I get that, but I think that if you keep doing the exact same thing for too long and don't try to change things up or at least get better and sharper, people are going to leave. I don't know how people can watch my old episodes because I know that the audio is not great and the editing is very basic, but it was the best I could do then. I think I can do better now. And I'm glad that people do still watch it. I'm really glad. I had a lot of fun doing all those oh highs, and I don't do them as much now because I think if it's completely predictable, it definitely loses a piece of the humor. But I do like doing crazy weird stuff. I obviously did a very weird opening to my latest episode. And it is a reference to something. I think it works on its own, but I was really worried. I was like, not everybody's going to get this reference. Is this going to be weird enough that the humor carries through? Like, are people still going to sort of find it funny even if they don't get the reference? And I think they did. I would like to do sometimes a funnier show or a show that was more indie focused, or sometimes, just because sometimes I feel a little burned out by superheroes. But then I tend to come back because there's always somebody that's amazing as an artist or is doing something really clever or writing wise with these characters. So I never can completely abandon them. Oh yeah, that's right. The pitch meeting one. Thank you. Thank you. I would enjoy putting something like that together, of like my silly stuff, or, like times dropping like spaghetti or dropping a Lego set or falling onto a cake. I would love to put that in, but I just don't have the time to go back and look at old stuff. I'm always moving forward. I rarely even watch my own episodes, other than because I've already like spent so much time with them thinking it through and then editing. So once I finish the edit and I'm sure that I haven't made any big mistakes, I've never really gone back. So I just don't have the time. Oh, that's right. Daredevil had that fake twin brother. That was really fun to talk about. That was really fun. I mean, I had to take Spanish in college, and, once you learn something, you try to use it. I think my Spanish is pretty bad these days. Sometimes when I was in sales at work, I would have to use it because sometimes we'd get customers that just didn't speak English. I would say that I'm not fluent at all, first of all. And my grammar is probably terrible too, but I a lot of vocabulary sticks with you. You should make an intro where you do the oh hi joke. You caught me rewatching all my oh hi jokes. How meta can we make this? How meta can we make this? Yeah. Well, thanks for going through some of those memories with me, folks. That makes me feel good that people remember some of this stuff. Honestly, though, I bet a bunch of you remember some of it a lot better than I do. And that's a good thing. I have to keep moving. I have to keep moving. Never stop. I have the artist from those Mexican Spider-Man comics, Friended. He's a gem. Those were fun, crazy comics. Yeah, now I've done both the Mexican Spider-Man comics and the Japanese ones. What else? I wonder if there's any other countries that sort of did their own take on Spider-Man, not just a translation, but their own take. I don't think there's any other countries that have. I don't know, though. Nothing's coming to me. I'm trying to think, did Italy have their own run, or did France have their own, official run or something, but I don't think so. Let's do something really big and obvious that I'm forgetting. People are like, you can't remember, the Australian Spider-Man? Don't hurt me. Oh, that's right. I did do an Indian episode that like used Spider-Man, Superman, and somebody else. I forgot about that. Was there a Brazilian Spider-Man? I forgot about that one. Yeah, I forgot probably about most of them. Right. Didn't I wear a taco hat or a burger hat or something like that? Yes, there are Italian Spider-Woman comics, not really based on Marvel stuff at all, and they're just porn comics. Turkish Batman. I always forget Dom's love interest was also in Furiosa twice as two different characters. You talking about the girl from part 4 and 5? Or was it just part 5? The mother to Little B? Oh, no, wait. He was briefly with Giselle, wasn't he? I'll have to do a rewatch at some point of those ridiculous movies. I was about to include in this one other character, but he's just so obscure, and they killed him off a second time, so yeah. Not many characters that have been killed off twice in the movies, but someday they'll all have died twice. You only die twice, and then you're gone. Da 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 da. Yes, married to Hemsworth. Yep. And played Jane Foster at the end of Thor: The Dark World, by the way. Chris Hemsworth's wife played Jane Foster in the very final scene of the second Thor movie, where Jane goes out on the balcony and kisses Thor. You see her from behind. It's his wife in a wig. That is not Natalie Portman. That's right. That's right. I went into the woods with the crossbow, and I lost all of the bolts. Mad Max, that's a great franchise. So good. So good. You can always do an episode on the Turkish Spider-Man movie where he's an evil teleporting drug dealer who cuts off people's heads. Yeah, it starts with him using like a boat propeller on the beach, right, to cut off that woman's head, and then they hire the government hires Captain America and El Santo to fight him. I collected bags for my Mark Bagley episode. I don't remember that at all. I have no memory of that. Sorry. I really shouldn't laugh at like my own jokes. I just don't remember that at all, so that felt new to me. I was just collecting bags? I don't remember that. I was doing Oh Hi by the time I thought American Splendor was before I was doing Oh Hi stuff. I've given a little bit of thought to like whether Jim and I should cover it, but it's not a very interesting. It's I shouldn't say it's not interesting. It's interesting. It's very boring in large stretches. No, never did anything on Jason Pearson. Can't like say that I was a massive fan though. Like it would be unfair for me to say that. He did Body Bags, is that right? No disrespect either. I just didn't really read it, so I don't. We always have blind spots. Oh, look at that. The opening to Dynamite Thor episode is my favorite. First of all, thank you for the super chat. I loved talking about Dynamite Thor. Just a ridiculous idea. A guy that just throws dynamite at every problem. Loved that idea. How batshit crazy it was. I don't remember what I did for my opening anymore. I'm trying to think, but it's not coming to me at all. I would definitely consider doing something on Adrian. Yeah, definitely. Yep, we talked about that tonight during the news section. Yep. Oh, Mike Ploog. Yeah, Mike Ploog is definitely an underrated, cool artist. When Marvel was trying new stuff, it wasn't like everybody had to stick to the house style. And yeah, I mean, how cool was his Werewolf by Night stuff? Mike Ploog, yeah. It would be fun to talk about some of these artists. And, you know, the thing is, you can't do that on YouTube every week, unfortunately, because then people stop watching. There's a certain contingent that appreciate anything about comic book history, but you have to mix in some mainstream stuff here or there, or at least something that's either controversial or in the news or something, or your channel just stops getting promoted. So that's not a bad thing per se, to, you know, because you want to do stuff that people care about. It's just a balance. I guess I'll just say that it's always a balance of how much to do about each type of topic. And I think I do a lot more on my channel than a lot of other comic book channels, where I just talk about stuff that I am passionate about. But am I going to try to think, okay, what's a Batman topic that I'm passionate about? Or what's a, you know, Spider-Man topic that I'm passionate about? Or something somewhat on that lines. Yeah, I am going to think about it. Am I going to go, you know, a big Superman movie's coming out. Does it make sense to talk about Superman this week? It does. So what should I talk about? Well, there are fortunately lots of those comics that I absolutely love. But you have to think that through. Like if I was just doing like, you know what, this week I'm going to talk about Adrian Tomine. And next week I'm going to talk about Jaime Hernandez. And the next week I'm going to talk about Chris Ware. Views would dry up, unfortunately. It's so frustrating, but they would. There's an algorithm. So, yeah. I try to I try to feed it a little bit, but not completely. I'm not just going to go like, F the mainstream because they screwed up again. That would burn me out. Anyway, I think I've talked about this stuff before. You guys are like, yeah, we get how you do things. I try to balance it. What was your favorite like board game as a kid? But when I say board game, I'll include, Mousetrap or Operation or anything like Perfection. Like what was your favorite game? And if it was like, Clue or Monopoly or something, cool. But what was your favorite board game as a kid? Shortcomings was directed by one of those guys that used to act in Channel 101 shows. What's his name? And Larry Hama, writer of G.I. Joe, his daughter was like the costume designer, I believe, for that movie. So yeah. Very cool history there. All right, so let's see. I'm going to hear some... Oh, Candyland. I forgot about that one. I don't know F. Plumpy. Risk. Stratego. I would love to talk about Steve Bissett's work, including Tyrant. Tyrant is really cool. Life. That's right. I liked Life a lot, too, with my family when I was very young. I don't know the Haunted Mansion game. The Game of Life, yeah. Sorry. You can pop a lot of trouble on the Pop-O-Matic bubble. Sorry. The game of Sorry. Risk. What else for games? Scotland Yard. Don't think I know that one either. Don't Break the Ice. Green Ghost. Axis and Allies. Oh, yeah. Hungry Hippos is a classic. That is a good one. Diplomacy. Alligator Dentist. WWE Monopoly. Trivial Pursuit. You know what? Oh, man. I like playing trivia stuff. I feel like I'm generally pretty good at trivia across a good amount of stuff. Not everything. It's... Am I weak in sports? Maybe not compared to like the average guy, but to like a big fan that plays a lot of fantasy football. I probably can't name as many names, but I think in general, I know a pretty good amount of trivia. So I like trivia games like Trivial Pursuit. That's a fun one. Sorry, I missed some. I think my wife bought me the Jaws game, but I don't think I've ever played it. I should bust that out. Guess who? Mousetrap. Yeah, I think it's a newer game. Parcheesi. Wow, yeah. Mousetrap was not very good at working consistently now. Anyway, let's see. I'll come up with another topic. Another good idea by the master of tropes, Mr. Comic Tropes himself, me. If I'm like me, and I am sometimes, I like the game of life. I can't think of something good. I don't think I know enough classes to answer that, unfortunately. I played D&D like when I don't know, maybe like 8 years ago. I played for like about 3 years with some friends of mine, but then like the pandemic happened and yeah. Oh yeah, I saw 28 Years Later. I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. I thought it was really a clever look at things. Yeah, I liked it. I liked it. Top 3 modes of transit. Car will be in there. Subway. And I suppose plane, because it gets you places faster. Favorite class phys ed. Yeah, it was good. Scrabble's fun, especially as you get like, it's not all just about being good at vocabulary. It's good about like playing strategically to either like, capitalize on a point that's on the board or to block someone else from getting it. So it's not just about the coolest word. Have you guys discovered any cool comic book Kickstarters lately? You know what? I never reported on them in the news, and I should have. I've got a buddy, Randy, who kickstarts his comics through his publisher. It's him, Altruist Comics. He makes a really great all ages speedster comic called Bullet Adventures. It's really well done. I like it. And he just got distribution, and I forgot to like include that at any point in my news. Next time I do one of these, I gotta remember to look that up so that I can plug my buddy. What's the point of having a show about comics if you can't help a friend here and there, right? As far as a game that pisses me off, I would say that as a kid, I liked Monopoly. And then as an adult, all of a sudden you realize there's a point to it. And the point is that it is arbitrary. There's not any strategy to it. Somebody's going to win. Somebody's going to lose. Gets decided very early on, and you play forever until a death of attrition. Because there's no actual mechanism in the rules for like making clever trades or something like that, or getting ahead to catch up. It's all about if you land on something, you should buy it. Don't wait and just go like, well, I only want to collect, the yellows, or I only want to collect the reds. You get buy whatever you can, and hopefully people land on your spot. And once I learned that and what a waste of time it sort of is, I sort of got mad at the idea of like playing Monopoly. I was like, no, it's a waste of time. Do you know what I mean? Or am I being too cynical? I think I'm just being pragmatic there. That at a certain point you realize there is a point to telling you that like that is the nature of capitalism. It's gonna like just take forever, but somebody's gonna win. And there's no mechanism really for like fixing, like catching it up. I don't know. I just read Button Man by John Wagner and Arthur Ranson. I think it's my fave new comic to come out of 2000 AD. Very cool. Local Man is so good. Whoever wins, we lose. You got to admit, that was a great tagline for the Alien Predator movie. Whoever wins, we lose. That's pretty memorable. I'm impressed. I'll focus on the chat in just a second, just drawing a little something down here. Down here. Hi, I'm here. Now I'm down here. Adios. I know it slows down. I should call this show like the wind down. You know, I start all hyped up and amped on caffeine and joking about comic book stuff. And then I just slowly get quieter and quieter while I peck away at some sort of inking project or other. It becomes such a different show. The vibe changes. It's definitely like, that's why I think of it as a variety show, but in some ways it's just two shows mashed into one. At least sometimes. Sometimes more than one. Hey. Spotty Wi-Fi, so we'll catch up on the stream later. Glad to see the fast tracks are continuing. Hope we get more of them. I am going to be able to finish this one tonight. I just need to do a few more things to it. Okay, let's see here. I know that the likenesses of these like characters in the background are really terrible, but yeah. No, haven't sold any art lately. I do have a commission that I need to do for a friend that I agreed to do. So I think that we agreed like I'd draw like one character with a background thing to it and $100. This week is the a lesson from the book of Nas, because as we know, Nas solves anything. I'm gonna have to like get deeper with like the book of Vince and the book of Jesse, the book of Suki, like these characters that we just never see. The book of Hector. I'll show it all to you in a moment. I'm just trying to quickly get in certain things that I need to either black out or just a little bit of background detail or something. Get the panel borders, I suppose. But this will be done in a little bit. This will be done in a little bit. Where's my ruler? Where's my ruler? The Book of Johnny Tran. Folks, wait till I start introducing, like the characters from like part 3 or something like that. This is, or start having lessons from some of the villains. Wait till I start talking about physics. I'll have to have Professor Dom explain how physics works. A chick tract that explains science. Can you believe some people think that if you drive your car at a bridge at the edge of a cliff, some people think that you just crash off the cliff and die? No, you'd obviously hook your car's axle onto the rope and go flying around the corner. That's what the Book of Dom teaches us. Ooh, boy. This is actually quite painful to draw because of my shoulder, but I'm also having fun talking to everybody and just seeing something silly emerge. So it's worth it. Oh, man, yeah, I haven't even introduced Luke Hobbs yet. Do you have a sacred routine before you start a live? No.
Physics is family.
Yeah, a Pontiac Fiero can fly into space. Do you know that some people literally don't believe that you can send a car into outer space with, like, you know, a taped on helmet and you'll be fine? You just end up going to the nearest space station after you take out a satellite. That's all you have to do. I'm not trying to do my absolute best art here. I'm just going a little impressionistic with some of this stuff because all that really matters is that I get a joke across more than anything else. Let me just emphasize a little bit of certain things. I'm going to just give Dom a little facial hair, I think. Well, maybe that's not a good idea because then I'll feel obligated to do it all the time, and that's a lot. I'm going to give him a little anyway. It's going to be fairly subtle. I don't know if you guys heard, but Vin Diesel says that he wants to bring back Paul Walker's character for the next supposedly final Fast and Furious. Like they do a CG character throughout. And I was like, in a way, that's nice, but I feel like it's going to stand out. And I don't know if that's a great idea. Like maybe a scene. I don't think it's necessarily disrespectful to the actor. I just don't think there's a way to do it. I don't know if we've got the technology ready to just have that character acting side by side throughout the entire movie. Okay, so here we go. Here we go. Let me see if I can center this a little. What it is, son? Uncle Jacob, he died. Patience. Family always returns. And we've got Han, Letty, and Giselle. 3 characters that definitively died on screen in these movies, only to be brought back because why not? Why not? And that's from the Book of Nas 220. I'm going to end up making so many of these. At some point, people are going to be like creating actual chapters. That's my goal. So this is Fast Tracks 2. Sign it. Did I date it? I dated it last time, so I'll date it this time. And someday we'll have too many of these. Family always returns. That's a great lesson that these movies give us, right? Just wait a little while, and that person will probably come back to us. We just have to wait a little while, and they'll come back to life. That's nice. So, recapping. There is an episode on comic tropes about All-Star Superman. Would love it if you check that out. That would mean a lot to me. Would love it if you hit things like and subscribe if you haven't already, and especially if you've made it this far. That really helps. My choice for book of the week is Dr. Werthless. Dr. Werthless, about Frederick Wertham, the guy who wrote a scathing indictment against comic books and how it caused teen delinquency. Here's the thing. He published that as a book. He did not put it in a peer-reviewed journal, which is what a good scientist or doctor does. He did not really ever have the courage, in my opinion, to open himself and his theories up to true scrutiny. I think his methodology was severely flawed. He looked at delinquents and asked them if they read comics, and they did. Well, guess what, doctor? There were millions upon millions of kids that read comics that didn't commit these delinquent acts and crimes. You didn't have a control group. Your methodology was flawed. Very frustrating. So we drew something. We reviewed some comics. We talked about the news. We just got to joke around with each other. Is there anything else I want to promote? Obviously there will be a Superman movie. Apparently some people are seeing it as soon as tomorrow. It's amazing. Jim Mafood and I did record a new trash movie bonanza about Supergirl. And so our editor, Jamie, is getting that ready for us. Shouldn't be too long, and we'll have some more Superman content. That's coming to this channel. That will be fun, I promise. That will be fun. Yeah, his book had reproductions of pages from the bad comics. He was using them to help sell the book. I agree. I think he was a hypocrite. Is there anything else I need to plug? No, just would love it if you really love the channel. Check out the Patreon that I've got, patreon.com/comic tropes, because I am now doing an exclusive monthly video for my patrons at the $2 and above tiers. So I'm going to put up a poll real soon for what to do this month. It's not an edited thing or a fully written essay, but you choose the topic. I'm going to gather my notes, and I basically do an extemporaneous essay on the topic. This past month, June, I did look at the Fantastic Four Superman crossover comic. So yeah, just trying to create extra content and value there, but that's definitely the thing that helps me the most if you really love this. I had a great time tonight. I'm going to take off. Remember, keep reading comics. Bye. See you soon.